So we have been talking about the various tools using which the data measured for the wind velocity and direction be presented, and it should be presented in a way that it gives you some important information or presents or develops some insight into the data, which helps you to particularly take decision whether a particular site is a good place to put up the wind turbine or not. So in that we talked about windrows, how data is presented in the form of a windrows, and then we talked about the frequency distribution curve and velocity duration curve. And it seemed to me that the like understanding of these two curves is not very clear in your mind. So I took some wind data from a particular at a particular site which was available on a particular website on internet. So here is your wind velocity. Of course, I am taking only 24 hours of a particular day, right? And this seems to be in kilometers per hour. Okay, so on at different times, this is hourly average. So you can see the values 11.7, 11.8, 10.3, and so on, right? So these were the different wind velocities measured over 24 hours. Now it should be measured over the whole month or whole year, right? And you have so much of data available. Now I have just divided it with 3.6 to get it in meters per second, and these are the number of hours, right? 1 to 24, right? First hour, second hour, and so on up to 24th hour. So you can see what are the different wind velocities at different in the first hour the average was 3.35, then 3.40, then 2.96, and so on. Okay. Now when you are talking about the frequency distribution curve, what is it? It is basically the the frequency, that is number of hours for a particular velocity, number of hours for a particular velocity. So if you're talking about, let's say, a particular velocity range, so if you're talking about 0 to 1, right, so you can have a look at this graph here, and that shows 1, 2, 3 up to 10. So 1 you may consider 0 to 1, 2 is 1 to 2, 3 is 2 to 3, and so on. Okay. So 0 to 1, if you try to get the number of hours for 0 to 1 in these readings, you don't find any reading. Right? It should be 0 point something but less than 1. So none of the reading give you that number. Then 1 to 2 means it should be 1 point something. So you get these three numbers here. I have used different colors for different ranges. So for 1 to 2 it is this 3. Okay, so here I have put the data. So from 2 hours, right? So 0 to 1 is 0 hours, then 1 to 2 is 3 hours. Then if you find 2 to 3, right, that is this sky blue color. Okay, so that is 8. Then 3 to 4 is 4, 4 to 5 is 2, 3, and so on. Okay, so if I plot this hours versus the range, then it is frequency distribution curve, as you find here, right? It is this frequency distribution curve. Okay, so it is presented in the form of columns here. So this is a frequency distribution curve, and you find some pattern. Of course, in 24 hours on a particular day, you don't get a perfect pattern. But if you take more number of samples, right, more the samples, more accurate would be your analysis, statistical analysis. But still, you find that it increases and then decreases, right? This is basically how frequency distribution curve can be plotted. Now another curve is velocity duration curve. So as you can see this column here, if I take 1 meter per second, then for all 24 hours it was 1 or more than that, right? Then even for 2, okay, or you can say 0, you can consider this one 0. So for all 24 hours it has to be more than 0. For 1 meter per second, even for all 24 hours it was more than 1 meter per second. Then 2 meter per second, for 21 hours it was more than 2 meters per second. So you refer to the first column and this column, the fourth column. Okay. Then 3 meter per second or more than that was for 13 hours. 4 meter per second or more than that was for 9 hours, and so on. So then this can be plotted here. So you can see this curve, this orange curve. So for all 24 hours, it is more than 0, right? Then even for 1, it is the same number. But then as you are talking about higher and higher velocity, so now velocity is on the vertical axis and number of hours is on the horizontal axis. And this has been plotted for 24 hours. It should be plotted for all total number of hours in a year. So it will make it 8760 hours, but I have done it for 24 hours. Okay, so you put those points. So obviously, like as the velocity is more, this number will go on reducing, the number of hours for which you had that velocity and more than that velocity, right? So this vertical axis is velocity in meter per second, horizontal axis is number of hours. So you can see this pattern. Okay, so this pattern matches with what was shown by me in uh, the document that I used to explain you these two graphs or curves. Okay, then velocity duration, velocity, if you make cube of that, right? So uh, if I make cube of 1, okay, now I'm not making the cube of the actual velocity, but I'm taking the cube of the uh, this number 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Okay, so velocity for 1, the cube is 1, 2 cube is 8, 3 cube is 27, right? And then this number of hours here, okay, for which it was at that velocity, at least at that velocity. So that is again put here. So whatever velocity you see here, if you make cube of that, then your power is 1/2 rho a u cube, right? Power is 1/2 rho a u cube. So you get this curve right here. Like I have not multiplied it with 1/2 rho into a, right? But still the trend would be same. The trend would be same. Now here, because the range is too big, you see this portion very flat. What I could have done is uh, I can perhaps reduce the range here. Okay, so let me do that. Like I can reduce the range here rather than this. I make it, let's say 1000 here. So you can see how the curve rises, right? And if I make it only up to, let's say 800. Okay, so this is quite similar to what the curve that I have shown in the material that I'll explain that curve again. So basically this on the horizontal axis, it is cube of velocity. You may multiply it with some fraction, 1/2 into rho. So rho is 1.2, then 1/2 into rho will be 0.6, right? And then area is, let's say you're talking about 1 meter square area. So you may just multiply all these numbers with 1.6. Still, it will show you the same type of trend. So that is power duration curve. And power duration curve actually gives you an idea about how power will vary for a certain period, right? So you can see that for certain period you get a very high amount of power from the wind, but for some other period you are going to get much lower power than that. Okay. Now at some points the velocity is very low, like here the velocity up to 3 may be so low that you are hardly producing any power, right? What is the reading corresponding to the velocity 3? How many hours? It is 13 hours. Okay, so for 13 hours it is 3 or more than that. Okay, so it means that for 11 hours it is less than 3, right? For 11 hours it is less than 3. Now you may not actually run your turbine for these 11 hours because the power produced is quite low for that, right? The power produced is quite low in during that period. Even if you, let's say, produce power, it may be just consumed to run the auxiliaries, and you are not effectively producing any power. Then there is no point in running the turbine, right? So that is what is shown here in the power duration curve. So this is for 8760, right? And what you find is that for a few hours the velocity is quite low. So let's say this is 6400, okay, 6500. So for the remaining hours, 8760 minus 6500, the wind velocity was quite low, and you could have produced this much power, right? What you can read from the horizontal axis, but then that is quite low, and it may just be consumed in running the auxiliaries. So you may not start your turbine, or you are not effectively producing any power even if you start your turbine. So there is a minimum velocity at which you will be actually producing some net power. So that velocity or that point is called cut-in point. Okay. And then for all velocities above that, for all those hours, you are going to produce power. And higher the velocity, higher the power you will be able to produce. So you can see it increases very rapidly, kind of exponentially. Okay, it increases very fast because it is cube of velocity that you are talking about. Okay. Then you will reach a point where the power produced is, you can say, full load. That is, the turbine is designed for a particular load, or generator which has been coupled to the turbine has some rated capacity. Let's say it is 800, here it is shown kilowatts. So let's say it is 800 kilowatts, right? Or it may be even 800 megawatts. No, I'm sorry. 800 kilowatt is the right number, right? You don't have turbine producing such a high power 800 megawatt. It may be just a few megawatts, but not a few hundred megawatts. So let's say this is 800 kilowatt. So the turbine has been designed for 800 kilowatt, and now the velocity is high enough that you are able to produce 800 kilowatt. Now you for a few hours, as you can see here, for let's say 2000 hours, the velocity was, let's say it is designed for 15 meter per second. So velocity was 15 meter per second or even more than that. But then the turbine is designed for a particular power. If you try to use, let's say it is 20 meter per second, and if you try to use all the potential available in the wind, what will happen is that you are trying to produce power more than what the generator is designed for. So generator is designed for 800 megawatt, and you are trying to, sorry, 800 kilowatt, and you are trying to produce, let's say, 900 kilowatt from that. what is going to happen? It gets overloaded, and there are chances that it will get damaged due to excess heat produced. So you should not try and do that. You should not be so greedy. So what you have to do is, in this range from F to C, you are trying to produce power with maximum coefficient of power, trying to do the pitching of the blade so that you get the optimum angle of attack and you get the maximum possible value of CP. But now what you are doing is you are not you putting it at the optimum angle of attack, and you are intentionally reducing your CP so that you are still, even if the wind velocity is higher than, let's say, the design velocity of 15 meter per second, you are trying, whatever excess power is there, you are not trying to utilize that. You are reducing CP of your turbine by doing pitching in such a way that you are operating on a non-optimum angle of attack, and you are trying to keep the power conversion same at, let's say, 800 kilowatt for all high wind velocities. Now, for a few hours in a year, a point may come that the wind velocity is very, very high, right? Kind of gusts. So in that case, your pitching action is also not enough to dissipate the excess power that is available in the wind, and you may end up damaging the turbine if you continue running the turbine. So what you do is you completely stop the turbine at that point. So for a few hours, if the wind velocities are very high, you may not run the turbine at all. You may even rotate it by in the direction direction perpendicular to the wind direction, right? So that you produce minimum forces on the blades. Okay, so that point is called furling point. So you, for a few hours, you are not producing any power. So this shaded area, what you see, is the region in which you are producing the power. You are running the turbine, and this is in kilowatt and this is in hours, right? So the shaded area, if you find the area of that, basically it is kilowatt hour. So that is nothing but the energy produced by the turbine in a year in the unit kilowatt hour. So this portion of this curve is unutilized, even this part is unutilized, and this upper part is also unutilized. Then there is a rectangle shown here. So this A, the power is the design value. So as I mentioned, let's say it is 800 kilowatt, or it is, let's say, 1 megawatt. Hmm? It is, let's say, 1 megawatt, 1000 kilowatt, and number of hours 8760. So if you draw this rectangle, what is the area in that area of that rectangle? 1 megawatt into 8760. So it is 8760 megawatt hour. That's the area of this rectangle, 0EDA. So that's the maximum power that this turbine can produce. But because for a few hours the wind velocity, or few hundred hours the wind velocity was quite low, you did not produce power, then the wind velocity was high enough to run the turbine, but it is not the design value, it is less than that, right? It is, let's say, less than 15 meter per second, which is the design value for the turbine. Then it became 15 meter per second at some point, at then it was higher than that, but then you are not utilizing it, and so finally the power that you are producing is in this shaded region. So obviously it is less than the area of this rectangle OADE. So if you put the ratio of these values B, C, F, G, H, this shaded region divided by this rectangle, what you get is the annual plant load factor or utilization factor. And these utilization factors are generally not very high for renewable energy sources, whether it is solar or it is wind. Okay. So later on we have some data about this, what is the annual plant load factor or utilization factor for the wind turbines. So you will get some idea about that, what could be that number. So but it will not be as high as a thermal power plant. Okay. Even in hydropower plant it is bit less because of the non-availability of water in summer. And for solar energy also, you don't get it during the night, and you also don't get it during the cloudy days. So this is the power duration curve is one of the most important curves, the way of presenting the wind data. Now let's take one example. I have provided you a table. Two images have been given to you, which gives the wind data uh, for the city or place of Kandala. So that is to be used here. So the example is calculate the energy content of the wind per square meter at Kandla in the month of so I believe it is for the month of so let me check with the values. It is 5.3, 6.4. So it is for the month of March. You have to refer the column for the month of March. And at a height of 33.3 meter above the ground, if the cut-in and cut-out speed of the wind is 10 and 22 kilometer per hour. Okay. So what is the energy content at 33 meter per second? Now 33 meter per second is 33 meter is the height at which the measurements have been taken. Right. So in the table itself, it is mentioned at the top of the table or at the bottom that these readings have been taken at 33.3 meters height. Right. You will find it in the second image at the bottom right corner. That sensor is at 33.3 meter above ground. Right. So you don't have to utilize this data. It's just what is the height at which these velocities have been measured. And the if you refer that month of March, you on the first column is interval kilometer per hour. So 0, then 0 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, and so on. Right. What we are going to do is, if it is 0, it's 0. If it is 0 to 2, you take it average, that is 1. Then it is 2 to 4, then you take the average, that is 3. 4 to 6, then you take the wind velocity equal to 5 kilometers per hour. Right. So that's about the wind velocity ranges. So whatever range is there, you take the average of the two numbers, two minimum and the maximum average of that. Okay, and consider that as the wind velocity, and then whatever numbers are given is the frequency of occurrence of that velocity for that month. So if it is, let's say March first value is 3.1, means it is 3.1 percentage of how many hours are there in March? It is 744. So 3.1 percentage multiplied by 744. So that will give you number of hours for which the wind velocity was almost 0. Then next value is 0 to 2. So you are going to consider it 1 kilometer per hour, and the number is 2.6. So 2.6 percentage multiplied by 744, or 2.6 by 100 into 744. So for that many number of hours, the velocity was between 0 to 2. What we will take is that the velocity was 1 meter per second for this 2.6 percentage of the time for the month of March. But we are going to exclude many values, because let's say the starting, you start the turbine only at 10 kilometer per hour. So this the values up to 8 to 10 is of no use to us in this example. 10 to 12 is average 11, and the frequency is 5.3. Okay, fraction. So 5.3. So you are going to start your calculation from that row, and then up to 22. So if you for the first image only, it is last horizontal line is 20 to 22. So your average is 21, and the frequency of occurrence fraction is 7.8. So we are going to utilize only those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 values. This is also to simplify the example, otherwise it will become too lengthy. Okay, so you are going to use only those 6 values, and what you are trying to find is how much was the power, or rather energy, in the wind for the month of March if you are going to operate your turbine between these two velocity ranges. Okay, and the air density may be taken as 1.2 kg per meter cube. Once you find it per meter square area, then let's say you are putting up a 60-meter diameter turbine, then, and let's say you expect that the efficiency, average efficiency, will remain at 0.4, then how many units of energy can be generated in the month of March? That is what you are trying to calculate in this example. So the formula is, this has been shown to you earlier. What you do is, this is U average of in U average for that hour. So here you are talking about what values? You are talking about 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, and 21. And so those are the wind velocities, and then you make cube of that and add all of them. Okay. But mind well, these velocities are in kilometer per hour. You want it in meter per second, so you will have to divide it by 3.6. What you may do is, you may divide it by 1 upon, you may multiply it by 1 upon 3.6 cube, right? Common for all the readings. And then this delta t is the time period, right? So you have to take care of that, and then is 1/2 rho a. So if you're talking about E upon A, then you are only going to write this 1/2 rho a. So what you do is, now this EW for the month of March upon A per unit area is 1/2 rho, that is 1/2 into 1.2, and this delta T is how much? It is 744 hours. It is 744 hours. So you may get the reading in watt hour, right, or kilowatt hour. So I have directly multiplied the number of hours here. Then cube of velocity 11 cube, that is for the first reading, where the fraction of frequency occurrence is 5.3 divided by 100. Right, this 11.3 occurred only for 5.3 upon 100 hours out of this 744 hours. Because this 744 hours is common to all, it has been taken out. Otherwise I can multiply each term with 744 hours, right? But it is common to all, so it has been taken out. Now the next reading is for 11 it is for 10, next is 13. So it is for 12 to 14. Yeah, you can type in your question. Yes, go ahead. So you can type and post your question. So this is 13. So 11 is for which range? 11 is for 10 to 12 range. So average value of velocity is 11 kilometer per hour, right? Then, so for that it is 6.4. So 6.4 6.4 is the fraction. So 6.4 divided by 100, right? The 744 hours is the number of hours in the month of March. So that is 24 into 31. Okay, 24 into 31. So that is 744. Okay, you agree with that? Right? 24 into 31 is 744. So you are finding the energy content in the wind only means for the month of March. So you are taking it 744. Okay. Okay. So the average value of the velocities, and that is put here, and the fraction is multiplied with that. 744 hours is common to all. So this has to be done for 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, and let me check whether I have missed out 21 or not. So this has been calculated by me. It seems I have missed out this 21. So you have total up to 21, right? So it like the answer what I have found should be correct, but here while writing I have missed out 21. So this is actually for 21. And what is a fraction for 21? The fraction for 21 is 7.8. For 19 it was 9.3. Here it is 7.8. So 7.8, yeah. So this 7.8 is correct. Okay. So you're going to do it for 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, and 21. Multiply each with the fraction, right? And 744 hours, as I told, is common for all. And then these velocities are put in kilometer per hour, but you should convert it into meter per second. And this is applicable to all the readings. So it has been multiplied by 1 upon 3.6 cube, because it is cube of the velocity, right? So that is meter per second cube. So all required things are done to get the reading in watt hour per meter square. Okay. So I have calculated it in an Excel sheet. And so for 11 it is 5.3, for 13 it is 6.4, 15 it is 8.1, 17 it is 8.1. Okay, 8.1, then 8. Oh, it seems yeah. For 11 it is 5.3, then for 13 it is 6.4, for 15 it is 8.1, for 17 it is 8.2. For 19 it is 9.3, and for 21 it is 7.8, right? Okay. And then all required multiplications have been done. So inside the bracket here, this is the cube of the velocity. We started with this range more than 10. So more than 10 is 10 to 12. So we started with that row. Okay, we started with that row, and 10 to 12 average is 11. So that 11 is put here. This is not perfect estimation. This is approximate method. So 10 to 12 has been assumed to be 11 average. So cube of that. Next row is uh, next row is 12 to 14. So the average is 13. So that has been put here. And you have to refer the column for the March. So for 10 to 12, what does the column for March show frequency? It shows 5.3. 5.3 percentage. So it's divided by 100. And it is, so this is our fraction out of 744. Out of 744. So 744 is already there, common to all. I could have multiplied it here also. Then that would have given me a number of hours for which the velocity is 11, right? So this is going to finally give me reading in watt hour, or then I can divide it by 1000 to get it in kilowatt hour. And then the fraction for 13 is 6.4. Right? Fraction for 13 is 6.4, for 15 it is 8.1, and so on. Right? So this has been done for all the 6 readings. Right? I have not written all. And then last one is 21, and the frequency is 7.8 for that. Right? The frequency is 7.8 for that 21. So that has been, that is the last term, because you are saying that you will stop your turbine beyond 22 kilometer per hour. So next column would give me 23. So I'm not going for that. Next row will give me 23. I'm not going for that, right? So you have to make sum of all, multiply them with these terms on the left hand side, which are common to all, and the velocity was taken in kilometer per hour, but you want it in meter per second, so you have to divide it by 3.6, right? 3.6 you divide it by so that to get it in meter per second from kilometer per hour. So you are going to get this number 21,505. Okay, please do the calculation on your own and check whether you get this number, whether this number is correct or not, right? If you are not able to do it now, you can do it later and again come back to me. Okay, you can post a message to me, and uh, like whether you get the same number or your number is different from this. So it is 21.5 kilowatt hour per meter square. Now, if you are putting up a turbine with an area of diameter equal to 60, then the area will be 2827 meters square, and your CP is, let's say, 0.4. So in the month of March with this turbine, how much energy will you be producing? So that is 21.5 here, 21.5 kilowatt hour per meter square multiplied by the area and the coefficient of power. So you will be producing 24,321 kilowatt hour, or this many units of energy will be produced by this turbine in the month of March for the velocity range 10 to 22, 10 to 22, right? So this is how you can get an estimate of how much electrical power generation can I expect in a particular month. And if you do this exercise for all the months and add them together, you get the annual output from that turbine. Okay. So I think you when you attempt yourself, the things will be completely clear to you. So the next thing is this is all theoretical things just to be understood. So considerations for site selection. So the wind velocity or wind speed is the most important criteria. And generally, if the average annual wind velocity are more than 7 meter per second, then it is considered to be a good place for putting up a wind turbine or a wind farm. Then the height of sea level and landscape also affects, and so coastal regions are good, as well as if you have some plateau over in some hilly area, even that is a good place for putting up a wind farm. Then installation of wind farm should not disturb local ecology. Right, this is true for any human activity. Then less distance from roads or railways is desirable, okay, for ease of installation and maintenance. And nearness to national grid is also desirable if you are going to produce, if you are going to feed it to the grid. The opposite will be the thing if you are talking about an off-grid system which will serve the local community only. And a hybrid system combining it with many times solar energy could be a good idea. And then the nature of the ground should be suitable for installing the wind turbine. The soil should be able to withstand loads and vibrations transmitted to it from tower. The land cost is your initial cost, and so that should not be very high. Otherwise, your payback period will be very long. Then the applications, like earlier, it was used only for propelling boats, grinding of grains, sawmilling of timber, and water pumping, etc. But now there are different applications of the wind turbines. If it is a small size wind turbine up to 10 kilowatt, then may be used for telecommunication and pipeline control, weather station, air traffic control, etc. If it is a medium size turbine, it may serve some small community. Uh, so that is for an off-grid system, and it may be combined with let's say solar energy. So at night solar energy is not available, but the wind turbine may still deliver you the power at that time. And today the most important application of the wind energy is for power generation, which is fed to the grid, and 100 kilowatt, a few hundred kilowatt or megawatt size wind turbines have been put up at many locations in different countries, in different regions in the world. So let's talk about the wind power generation scenario, the world scenario first. So wind energy is actually one of the earliest energy, renewable energy source which became commercialized. Now it is used on a commercial basis in more than half of the all the countries in the world. So it is very it has become quite common now throughout the world. By 2018, several countries had achieved high levels of wind power generation, such as 41% of stationary electricity production in Denmark, 28% in Ireland, 24% in Portugal, 21% in Germany, 19% in Spain, and so on. In November 2018, wind power generation in Scotland was higher than the country's electricity consumption during the month. Right? So because the wind velocity is what they get must be very high. So they are able to even produce excess power than their requirement. And wind power share for worldwide electricity usage at the end of 2018 was 4.8%. So out of the all requirement of electrical energy in the world, 4.8% was served by wind energy, which was 3.1% in before 4 years. Right. So the rise is also quite development in this field is also quite good. In Europe, its share of power generation capacity was 18.8% in 2018. Right. So the percentage-wise, Europe is quite ahead of many other countries. Earlier, Europe and USA were the leaders in tapping this source of energy, but now Asia has surpassed them. Uh, Total capacity wise, Asia has surpassed. So main players are China and then India. So this graph shows you how the installed capacity increased over years. So this starts from 1996 and then 2018, right? So you can see the rise has been very rapid. So now It's around 591 at the end of 2018. 591 gigawatt is the capacity, right? This is the capacity. So global wind power cumulative capacity is at the end of 2018 it is around 591 gigawatts. And then top 10 countries by cumulative wind capacity. So out of that 591, that was for 2018. It has increased further in 2019, and China installation capacity wise is number one with 236 gigawatt. Okay, it is 236,402 megawatt. So 236 gigawatt is the installed capacity, which is 36.3% of the whole world. And US is at 105 gigawatt with 16%. Germany is at 61 gigawatt at 9.4, and India is around 37.5 gigawatt at 5.8% of the total world capacity. So India is at number 4 in absolute terms in the installed capacity. Then the scenario in India, you can see what was the installed capacity. Like 2006-7, it was this is in megawatt, so it was 7.8 or around 8 gigawatt, 8 gigawatt in 2006-7, and 2010-11 it was around 16 gigawatt, and 2014-15 it is around 23 gigawatt, and now it is around 37 point or you can say nearly 38 gigawatt is the power that is the installed capacity. And then the actual power generation in gigawatt hour, right? Actual power generation, so you have kilowatt hour, if you divide it by 10 raised to 6 you get gigawatt hour, right? So you can see how the power generation has also been increasing over years. So it was around 64,485 gigawatt hour in the year 2019-20. Right. This chart just shows the wind velocities, and this red color shows high wind velocity. So those are the potential sites where you can expect good amount of power generation from the wind. So all those places with dark color, red color, and maroon like color, they are good places where you can put up the wind turbine. So obviously you can see Tamil Nadu, then Gujarat, Rajasthan. Of course, this region it may be difficult to develop in infrastructure, but otherwise they are also potentially good. So those are the places where you can expect that the wind power generation growth would be good. So you can see the installed capacity in India in different states. Tamil Nadu has always been the number one in this, and now it is around 9231 megawatt or 9.2 gigawatt is the capacity. Gujarat is at 7.2. The next one is a bit lower as compared to these two states. Maharashtra is at 4.8 gigawatt, Karnataka very close to that, Rajasthan at 4.3, close to that, Andhra Pradesh also close to that at around 4 gigawatt. But then the other states are Madhya Pradesh may be considered at 2.5, but then the other states are much lower. So mainly these are the states which are contributing to the wind power generation in India. So we are producing around 37 giga, or installed capacity is around 37 gigawatt in India. But what is the potential? So the potential earlier, the potential was considered to be around 49 gigawatt only. So that way we are very close to that 37 and 49. But then that was revised and now it is put at 302 gigawatt. 302 gigawatt at 100-meter hub height. 100-meter hub height. Earlier, the hub height, what might have been considered maybe lower. So if you have bigger turbine and more height, you can expect more power from a single turbine with almost same area on ground. So that way now it is at 302 gigawatt, and the target is around 60 gigawatt by 2022. Of course, we are just 2 years away from that. I'm not sure whether this can be achieved or not, but the target which was set earlier was 60 gigawatt by 2022. And now you can go for higher hub heights also with the development of the technology. So higher power production from single turbine is possible. And percentage wise, wind power now accounts for around 10% of India's total installed power generation. And uh, like energy generation wise, 4% of total electricity is generated from the wind turbine. So this tells you the low utilization factor, right? What I discussed about while discussing the power duration curve, because you don't have very high load factor, right? The thermal power plants can run uh, uh, only a few days that will be shut down. Otherwise, it will run 24/7. But that's not the case for solar and wind. So 10% of the capacity, but 4% of the uh, electricity or energy generation from wind. And you can see capacity utilization factor is around 19.33 or around 20%, you can say, in this 2018-19. So earlier it was lower, and now it is a bit higher. 70% of annual wind generation is during, now this is also an important understanding. 70% of annual wind generation is during the 5 months duration from May to September, coinciding with southwest monsoon duration. In India, solar power is completely complementary to wind power, as it is generated mostly during the non-monsoon period daytime. So uh, May to September, or you can say June to September, is the period where it is cloudy and the solar energy, solar power plants are not going to give you high output. But then wind velocities are high during those months, and the wind energy can compensate for that. So wind energy will play an important role in India's energy mix, energy security. So energy security means we don't depend upon other countries for our energy requirements, and environmental sustainability in long term. So this brings us to the end of the chapter on wind energy.